Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is a morning update. What's going on, everybody? Happy Thursday. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about Les Wexner and the reports that he's getting ready to step down and have a sale of the company. Wouldn't that be nice? This guy is hip deep involved in the Jeffrey Epstein situation. There's no denying that. We all know the sort of animal that Wexner is as well. And we all know what occurred and what happened on his property to Maria Farmer. So hearing that Wexner is reportedly getting ready to step down and explore a sale really makes me happy. It's like with Glenn Dubin stepping down. All of these people that were involved with Jeffrey Epstein, even if they're not being arrested yet, folks, we haven't seen them perp walked, they're having their names dragged through the mud. And that's almost worse for these people. All they want to do is continue to consolidate their power and be a part of society that looks down its nose at the rest of us. And for them to think that they might just have to be the rest of us is a terrible, horrible punishment for them. But it's not enough, of course. Swift trials, strong sentences. That's what I want for these people. So, we're going to jump into this article here, and it's from CNBC. And the headline is, Victoria's Secret founder Les Wexner is reportedly in talks to step aside and explore a sale. The article was written by Lauren Hirsch and Hannah Miller, and it was published yesterday. All right, so let's jump into it. Leslie Wexner, the billionaire founder of L Brands, the parent company of Victoria's Secret, is in talks to step down as CEO, according to the Wall Street Journal. He also is exploring strategic alternatives for the Victoria's Secret brand, the newspaper said, citing people close to the matter. L Brand shares jumped 13% on Wednesday after the report. That tells the tale in itself, folks. Wexner comes out and says that he's exploring a sale and that he's going to step down, step aside, blah, blah, blah. And the shares jumped 13% on that news. That is a significant bit of movement for a stock price, okay? 13%, considering the stock has been hammered in the last year, 2 years. Well, if you're a shareholder and you see that, you have to be looking at each other and saying, well, you know what? If he doesn't want to go on his own, maybe we're going to have a hostile takeover and push him out, sort of like in Succession. The company is aiming to reach a decision on the potential sale and decide succession plans in coming weeks, the report said. This is significant stuff here, folks. This is very significant. Les Wexner, this is the first step of him being exposed. Get him out of this part of the world, get him out of these boardrooms so he's not being protected anymore by these stupid canned company statements, and then let's start asking this guy some questions. CNBC reported in November the company was exploring a spin-off of the Victoria's Secret brand or a private investment in public equity to help pay down the company's debt. At the time, it was exploring such deals with a structure that would keep Wexner in place. The 82-year-old Wexner's extensive history with accused sex trafficker, pedophile, Jeffrey Epstein, made some investors wary of such a deal, a person familiar with the situation said at the time. Some investors? No, I'm pretty sure all of them were a little skeptical about what was going on with Wexner in charge. The stock prices tell the story, folks. The stock prices tell the story. And the fact that it jumped 13% just on the rumor that this clown might be stepping down, that tells you everything you need to know. Mr. Wexner, you are not needed. You are not wanted. It is time for you to crawl back into whatever hole you were hatched in and just leave everybody else alone until your time comes to answer questions in this probe. Meantime, activist fund Barrington Capital Group last year took a stake in L Brands and criticized the company's performance and questioned the independence of its board. That's for sure. Everybody that's on this board is under Wexner's thumb. Everybody that he comes into contact with is under his thumb. The only person that ever was treated as an equal to him was his best buddy, Jeffrey Epstein. Everybody else is just a stooge. L Brands and Barrington later reached a truce that added the fund as a special advisor to the company. The agreement also added board members Ann Sheehan, chair of the Securities and Exchange Commission's Investor Advisory Committee, and Sarah Nash, CEO of Navigard Solutions. The deal with Barrington allowed Wexner to remain on the board despite Barrington's original contention the dual role of CEO and chairman give him too much power. That's interesting. There's always give and take when it comes to stuff like this, so I'm sure that they negotiated some sort of deal. What that deal is, I have no idea, but I'm sure Barrington, they got 2 seats on the board. That's significant. I wonder what they had to cede to get those 2 seats. Obviously, it's not going to go into that here, and that's, boardroom banter and stuff like that, but that kind of stuff always interests me. I always have an interest in how these hostile takeovers begin, how they're facilitated, and then how they actually get put into place. It's very interesting to watch, especially with a huge company like this, and it couldn't happen to a better scumbag than Wexner. Honestly, I wish Bobby Axelrod from Billions would take over his company at this point. The fallout from Wexner's relationship with Epstein has continued to haunt the company. Yeah, it should, considering Epstein used the cover of Victoria's Secret to have access to young girls. Yeah, it should haunt them. Considering Wexner gave him that house. Yeah, it should haunt them. Considering Maria Farmer was abused on his property. Yeah, it should affect them. Wexner gave Epstein power of attorney, and Epstein was even a trustee of the Wexner Foundation. But he was never working for Victoria's Secret. He was never like an employee or anything. I mean, come on. Yeah, stop. No, he didn't have to be an employee, okay? He had the keys to the kingdom, folks. The keys to the kingdom. Complete and utter and unfettered access to these young girls. L Brands hired outside counsel to examine the relationship between the 2 men in July. Oh yeah, again, another investigation into ourselves. We're going to investigate ourselves. Everybody can relax. We're going to make sure that things are done correctly. Yeah, okay. In a letter to the foundation in August, Wexner said Epstein had misappropriated more than $46 million from Wexner and his family years ago, but did not provide documents to federal prosecutors about the missing money until last August. So basically, Epstein gets arrested, right? And Wexner going to the police is their cue, the mega group's cue, to tell Epstein that he's on his own at this point. And that's definitely the way it looks to me. For all this time, Wexner was a staunch supporter of Jeffrey Epstein, always there to support him, even if it was behind the scenes, right? Even if it was behind the scenes. Well, he gets arrested the second time, and the mega group and their sources realize that they're not going to be able to protect him this time, so they're cutting bait. And that's what it looks like to me. So Wexner comes out and says, well, he stole all this money from me. I'm a victim too. Meanwhile, Wexner and his buddies in the mega group have been facilitating Epstein's behavior this whole entire time. You see how sick these people are, folks? That's how sick these people are. L Brands posted mixed results in the third quarter as declining Victoria's Secret sales continued to drag down the company's performance. Sales at Victoria's Secret stores open at least a year fell 7% in the third quarter, a jump from 2% decline they saw in the same quarter last year. That's 5%, folks. That's a significant decline when you're talking about money on this scale and you're talking about, this kind of dough. That's a significant amount of money, a significant decline. Victoria's Secret sales have declined as women are gravitating toward lingerie brands like Adore Me, Third Love, and American Eagle's Aerie, which are seen as more inclusive. L Brands declined to comment on whether Wexner is stepping down, and the message left with Barrington Capital was not immediately returned. Oh man, this is good news, folks. This is good news. Any pressure or any push on Wexner to get him the hell out of Dodge is a fantastic thing to see. Les Wexner and his wife Abigail Wexner have a lot to answer for. And this man, who is the king of Columbus and runs it like his own fiefdom, needs to seriously be put on the clock. How in the world can this man escape judgment and escape the scrutiny of law enforcement after what occurred on his property? After what happened to Maria Farmer on his property by Epstein and Maxwell, how is this man not on the clock? I have no idea, but I'll tell you this much right here. On this podcast, oh yeah, Wexner is definitely definitely on the clock. We have talked about him extensively here. We know that he is the definitely, in my opinion, the point man for the mega group over this whole entire operation. He was the one who was in charge, per se. So, look, Wexner getting put on the clock here, being forced to face some scrutiny. And the most important thing, if he has to step down, and he has to step down in disgrace, that is the worst thing that could happen to this man. Because, of course, all they care about, like I said a million times, all they care about is consolidation of power. And if he's not in a role where he can consolidate that power, he might as well be dead. And all I hope is that charges are brought against Wexner before the man passes away. Because he's an old guy, right? Old people, things happen to old people. But I don't want him escaping justice. I want him to be completely and utterly scrutinized by the authorities, because his role in this cannot be underscored, folks, in my opinion. His role in this, in my opinion, cannot be underscored. Talk about facilitating, talk about enabling. Well, all fingers point to Les Wexner. All right, folks, if you'd like to contact me, you can do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI@protonmail.com. Also, if you would like to help support the podcast, you can do that by clicking on the GoFundMe link inside of the description box. All right, folks, I'll be back later on with the daily drop. And also, like I told you last night, Lee's show, but Lee is working on a project that I'm going to co-host with him, and it's going to explore celebrity deaths and the interest the public has in them, etc., etc. So we're going to record our first pilot episode of that later on today. And I'll update you later on with the daily drop when it'll be available. And if that's something you folks are interested in checking out, make sure you give it a listen and then shoot us some feedback so we know if it's something that people might be interested in checking out. All right, everybody, enjoy your Thursday, and I will talk to you all later.